Hi, I'm Holly. I'm a third-year PhD student at the University of Manchester studying immunology.
And I'm Alex, a final-year PhD student researching Alzheimer's disease at the University of Manchester.
And we're going to answer your questions off r/PhD subreddit.
Let's get cracking. Hey PhD students, what's your go-to reply to the question, how's everything going?
I don't want to say it's very British to be like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm fine.
I got pulled up on this by my friends when I went on a camping trip with them, and they said, oh yeah, how's the PhD going? And I said, yeah, busy, mate. And they said, why do you always say that? You can't always be busy.
Oh, no. You can't always be busy.
You can always be busy. So yeah, I normally say busy, and then I'm going to say, yeah, it's fine. And then I tell them about all the problems.
Yeah. I'm like this and this and this, and then like halfway through they're like, I don't know what's going on here.
They won't really know what's going on. But yeah, busy but okay. You know,
yeah,
it's
busy,
always manageable.
Okay,
you get used to the workload.
The best way.
Yeah.
Okay. What was your background when applying for a PhD? So I did an undergrad in biomedical sciences and then a master's in molecular biosciences. They just switched the words around pretty much. And then
yeah, it's all the same, isn't it? Yeah.
It's all general biomedical science
so
research.
I did an undergraduate master's degree, so an MSci at the University of Nottingham in neuroscience, and I had a placement year in the third year of that. So I study Alzheimer's disease. My research experience prior to that had been on my placement year. I did a machine learning project in neuro-oncology from like MRI analysis, and then my dissertation was on like peripheral nerve fructose metabolism, and now I study Alzheimer's disease. So yeah, your background doesn't have to align perfectly. Your skills are transferable.
I feel like you bounce from niche to niche.
Yeah, you
easily.
do, 100%. Yeah. How did you find your purpose/reason for a PhD? That's a really personal thing. Like it's.
I don't know if it just came to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Over the years, I just really loved research. Every time I'd go into kind of the immunology lectures in particular, I was just like, this makes sense. It's interesting. I feel really like I want to pursue this potentially in the future. And then kind of as you get to kind of those crux points where you've got to make big decisions, I'm there like, but I still like research, but I still like the university environment. And so it made sense.
I do specifically remember being in a very kind of late, either very late GCSE or A-level, very early A-level class, learning about the nervous system and about the reflex curves that you have with the motor, sensory and motor neurons and stuff. And I just thought, this is cool, but there's so much more complexity to it. And I think that's what started me thinking about, I want to learn more about this. And then, learning more about it being a job and just loving the science and the research process. I think loving science has to be your main thing for it. For me, going to Alzheimer's research, also there's a bit of personal background, like with a lot of people as well. So that was a really meaningful field for me.
You just get to be kind of a big kid in the lab.
You do. You get a lot of freedom. You get a lot of freedom, and that is really, really nice. You can ultimately do what you want, and having that freedom is it does give you a lot of purpose.
Okay. So should I do a PhD? Quite a general question to the universe, I think. I'd say if you want to do a PhD, yes.
Yeah.
100%.
What I've started telling a few people is, if I told you, no, don't do a PhD because the pay's not particularly good, it's really, really hard at points, would you still want to do one anyway? And the answer for people that should be doing a PhD is normally, yeah, I'd still do it. So that's kind of telling you, yeah, you should do a PhD because you're doing it for the right reason. No one's in it for the money. So you've got to be in it for the research and the science and the love of what you're doing, like having that purpose. So, yeah.
I think, in short, if you're thinking about it and you feel like, yes, I would be a good PhD student, then yes, 100%.
What PhD program do I choose?
Oh, there's so many, isn't there? It depends. Infinite.
Yeah, it depends what's important to you. If you just have one big issue, one big research question that you want to answer, you might not be on a program at all. You might be on a PhD with an individual researcher that they fund through their research funds or another scholarship or something like that. And with that, you won't get a lot of the training that you might get with some of the big programs. But if that's what's important to you, then go for it. I think I'm on a DTP, so you get a lot of training and opportunities with it. Like I got the opportunity to do a policy internship with the government. That was really, really cool and gave me transferable skills. So that was something that was important to me. And then, there are programs with industrial placements in them, like case studentships, the iCase studentships. So if you're looking at industry, those are absolutely fantastic. They're really competitive, but it's going to give you a leg up. So it depends what's important to you, whether you want those extra training opportunities, you want industrial experience, or you want to focus really in on one specific research area.
I just do some Googling, I think. Just like rank all the ones that interest you and then kind of do pro and cons for each of them. Because you'll find stuff that, like you said, that give more opportunities, maybe to do placements or speeches. And then you'll get other opportunities where maybe you kind of want a specific researcher and you're just so fascinated with their area of your research that you can maybe sacrifice some of the benefits of a programme.
100%. It's a pro-cons situation if you've got multiple offers to choose from.
Okay, research fit versus social fit for a PhD.
So I think what this is asking is, if you're picking between a project that is a really good fit for your research and the research that's being done there, you're really, really interested in, but you don't feel like you socially fit in or like the environment isn't as good, should you sacrifice that for the sake of the really good research for your career? Or do you go for somewhere where you feel like you fit in and there's a really good environment, but the research isn't necessarily quite in your niche? And what I'd probably say to that is you can always switch niches afterwards, but PhDs are really hard and you need a supportive environment. I think a lot of the stories you hear about people struggling in PhDs is when the environment around them isn't so good. You need that support in place. So if you've identified somewhere where you have that support, you feel like you're going to be happy there, I feel like that's most important. And then coming out of your PhD, you can pivot to a field that you feel is a better fit for you with the skills that you learn.
Yeah, I feel like my undergrad, my master's project were all bacteria focused. And then when I started doing my PhD, I was like, well, what do I really want? And I was like, I want a supportive supervisor. I want someone who kind of inspires me. And so I can have this kind of passion around the lab. And I just thought that was the most crucial thing for me. And 100%. So I definitely would probably pick a social fit over research fit, because I switched now into kind of lung immunology and I love it. And it was not something I considered doing initially. And now I love the lab and I love the research topic. So you kind of get a win-win at the end of the day.
Yeah, providing it's not miles away. Providing it's not miles off your research niche. Social fit. How important is it for my PhD topic to align 100% with my actual interest?
Look, that's very on brand.
Not that important. It will pivot all the time in terms of, my placement year was machine learning and neuro-oncology for MRI stuff, and then did peripheral nerve metabolism, and now I'm studying Alzheimer's. So you can absolutely pivot. Everyone pivots between different areas. It's more about the skills that you're going to learn. So look at the research techniques, and if they're the sort of techniques that you want to apply in your actual interest, you can pivot to that.
Yeah, and I also think during those course of 3 to 4 years, your PhD will change every other month pretty much. There is no consistency. There's obviously the overarching theme will be the same, but even different cell types, different areas of interest, even the techniques you're using will change so frequently that you're never going to align 100% throughout the entire PhD.
Yeah, exactly. I started looking at neurons, solely on neurons, and then we had to pivot to look at the blood-brain barrier. And now I'm looking at immune cells, macrophages, white blood cells and the immune response. So you're going to change even within your PhD.
You'll read your thesis at the end and you'll be like, I started off here and I have no clue how I've ended up here.
It's a very, very weird
somehow
journey,
it makes sense.
It all connects.
Okay, how to get accepted with no research experience, ways to improve profile by adding some research. I think there are loads of ways to get research experience. I think obviously if you're really lucky, then you might have some connections you already know. But other than that, I should just say reach out to people. If you're kind of really interested in certain research areas, there's kind of often a lot of societies. At least for immunology, you've got the BSI, you've got Royal Society of Biology. And so you can sign up with them, and they often put some ideas out of kind of research opportunities you can do, and that's a good way of getting some kind of connections.
I think if you're still an undergraduate student, you can do summer placements, get some studentship. Just look at universities and research institutes that you can travel to easily from wherever you're going to be that summer, and just email supervisors that you're interested in and just ask, can I come and work for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks in your lab? There's also funding out there for doing stuff like that if you're still a student. One thing I think a lot of people don't know is you can just do research on your own and publish it. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. You don't have to be like a qualified researcher. Yeah, it helps the credibility, and also you've got the resources when you're at a research institution. But if you're on informatics and it's database and you don't need a load of equipment, then you can just have a research idea, do it yourself, and submit it to a journal. And that is a massive leg up in trying to get a PhD if you've done that yourself.
I wish I was that proactive in my undergrad.
But you can just do research.
I think also like one of the main things we do at the start of our PhD is a literature review. So it's just kind of going over all the literature available at the moment in your kind of topic area. And so you can actually do that way before you get to the PhD. You can kind of read around, see what's out there, and kind of identify some of the niches that people haven't answered the questions for.
What research experience did you both
have? I think I did a kind of a summer placement in my undergrad. So that was online actually, so it was a lot easier to do because you just kind of chatted and discussed things virtually. And then other than that...
So I 8 weeks summer placement that was wet lab, a couple of months in my dissertation project that was wet lab, and then I had a year of bioinformatics, which is purely desk-based. And one of the questions I got asked in my interview for my PhD by my supervisor was, so you've got a year that's primarily on bioinformatics, why are you coming in to do a wet lab project when it seems that most of your research background is in bioinformatics? And go answer by saying, I still do have wet lab research, it might be less, but I think the important thing is I've got both. I've actually got research experience in an area that's complementary, which people don't have, so it sets you apart.
I guess that's the thing with bioinformatics. Most people have laptops now, so you can kind of do RStudio courses.
It's applicable to any project, especially with the direction that research in biosciences is going. Bioinformatics is becoming so much more important as a skill.
And also, I guess you could do social projects, like you could volunteer. Like research isn't always in the lab, data analysis. It can actually just be talking to people of the public. Like a lot of the work I do works with like clinicians and hospitals and patients. And so actually just chatting to like patients and people out and about, that itself is 100% kind of research.
Public engagement experience. For current PhD students, how did you guys spend your summer during undergrad? Well, as I said, I did a summer placement. In the other summers, chill out. You're never going to have summers off again. Enjoy them. Definitely. Chill out. Summer placement if you can, but that's one summer out of 3.
Yeah, plus I feel like you focus so hard on the exams that come just before the summer. You're burnt out. Just relax.
Relax. PhD right after masters or industry experience first?
I did my PhD right after my masters, and I didn't feel like I suffered for not having industry experience. But I mean, if you want to get it, I think it'd only be a benefit to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be weird if you get a job in industry and then go to PhD. It's going to be weird taking that pay cut.
Yes, I do. I feel like I'd shed a few tears over the lost.
Yeah, but it's not about the money. It's part of it, but it's about the skills you're going to gain. I mean, I'd be tempted to say just get your PhD done and out of the way, to be honest.
Speed through it, back to back.
Yeah,
obviously I wouldn't.
That's the thing. If you're coming out of a master's, you're probably quite a good candidate for a PhD anyway, so you probably can get one straight away, unless you're looking for a really, really competitive one. But
yeah, I think maybe if you ask yourself, like, oh, maybe I want to do industry, then maybe go into industry, because then you at least get to experience it first, and then you might get there and be like, oh, actually, this is not the environment for me.
Yeah, or you might go into industry and love it.
I love it. Yeah, I love industry.
And you never want to do a PhD.
I never want to look at a PhD
because
again.
people rise through industry without having done a PhD.
Yeah.
It happens. So.
And so I think go out and try it if you want to try it, but don't feel pressured to get experience if you're not actually wanting that experience in the first place.
Yeah, it's not a necessity.
You'll survive.
Changing research focus from masters to PhD. totally fine.
Yeah, easy. In fact, I don't think most people keep it consistent between a master's and PhD.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people that end up doing a PhD like in their master's lab because the supervisor knows them and is happy to take them on. That's an easy way of getting
nice
in.
way in.
But yeah, 100%. You can change. You can change quite dramatically in academia. I think it's really more about
it's skills, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think it's all about learning skills.
Than, like having knowledge about an area. I think you can learn as much as you need to know about a new area in like a month if you just sit down and read about it and teach yourself. It's about the skills.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, accept funded PhD or do a master's in hopes of getting a better PhD. I would say a funded PhD is great.
PhD. You've got a funded PhD. Unless, it kind of sounds like you don't want to do it. I'll just say, if you've got an offer from a PhD and like, I'm not sure, if you want the project,
dream.
take it. You don't need the masters. That PhD is the level up. If you're going into a career and you've got a PhD, no one's going to be asking you why you don't have a master's degree.
Yeah, they kind of counteract the last one. Once you get a master's, not many people ask about your undergrad. Once you get a PhD, I can't imagine many people ask about
you've got a PhD offer and it's a project you want to do and it's funded, take it.
Yeah, I think that's it. If it's the project you want to do, if you've got a funded PhD, I'm not sure why you applied in the first place if that's a project you don't want to do.
Yeah.
But let's just say you've got an offer, but it's not what you want to do. I'd then probably go somewhere else.
Yeah, you have to want to do it. It's not just a qualification. You've got to want to do it.
It's 4 years of hard work. So,
Where do I start looking for a supervisor? That's a good question. Because for me, I never really had to look for a supervisor. It was, it's the list of projects, and you look at the project, and the supervisor that comes with it is, you just have to. You don't have a choice. If you want to do the project, guess what? They're going to be supervisors.
They're going to be there,
but then I think if you look at some of the literature in your area, might be a good start. Otherwise, look at the universities that interest you and what fields they're strong in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't have to do it. So
no, me neither. But
you've just got to do some pretty intensive Googling in the research field that you're interested in. Look at
conferences. You might go to a conference and find some people who are like doing some keynote speaking talks. And
intensive Googling. I think, is the answer.
How long do your supervisors take to answer emails?
Mine's very good.
I'm really blessed with a really fast supervisor. But I know at different stages they may take longer. So if this is someone who's just applied and they're waiting for their supervisor to apply back, then I'd give a caveat. It could take weeks to months.
100%. If you are reaching out on that first step and applying, hi, I'm such and such. I saw this project you're advertising for your PhD, and I'm interested. Here's my CV, and it could be weeks. So relax. But if you're an actual student in their lab, they tend to be pretty good on the whole. Like next day, if it's longer than a couple of days, then I think that's a bit of an issue. I think,
and at least with my supervisor, their office is only like a few doors down from where I work, and so often I can just like knock on the door and be like, can I bother you at this moment with my questions? And they're always happy. So.
Exactly. Ultimately, it's their research as well, so they're going to be engaged in it.
And maybe it's something to consider when you're actually applying with a supervisor. You can ask them beforehand, like, what's your supervisor style? Because if they're like, oh, I'm always available, and that's kind of what you want, that would be perfect. But if it turns out they're like, oh, I'm always abroad doing conferences and I'm actually very rarely at your university, then I'd suggest if you're looking for someone there all the time, maybe don't pick that.
That's the thing. It's also very personal. My supervisor is very, very hands off because he's got management roles in the university, so he's got a lot of other jobs. A lot of the time working remotely, so he's not even in the building. But he's happy for me to just get on with what I want, and he's there when you need him. So they're just an email away and they respond quickly, but otherwise hands off, and that's brilliant for me. So it can be very personal. PhD interview, any last minute tips? Hopefully it's not last minute prep. But do prepare for an interview like you would do in a job interview. Chances are, if it's a chat with your supervisor, it might be quite informal. If it's like a board interview for the DTP, it's going to be a job interview essentially. Okay. Know the literature in your area. You don't have to know all of it, but make it clear you've done some reading and have formulated some ideas for your research, because they will ask you about it.
Yep.
If you don't know something, just say you don't know. I researched a protein called alpha-klotho. I know now there are 3 types of like klotho proteins. You get alpha, beta, and gamma klotho. My research has only touched on the alpha type, and I only read about that. And then in the interview, they asked me, "So I presume this is referring to alpha klotho and not beta or gamma?" And I was like,
what?
And it's like, I'm sorry, I've never actually heard of those other 2 isoforms. It's like, oh no, that's fine. Like, it's totally fine. They don't expect you to know everything, but read around.
I would say, and if you put something on your CV, know what you've put on your CV. Don't start claiming you have these incredible skill sets that you've never done in your life, because they will ask you about it.
Yeah.
I think what I learned about in kind of the PhD interview is they'll ask you a lot of questions revolving about the university itself and why you wanted this university.
Yep.
Because often people are like, oh, well, it's just the project, I'm obsessed about this project. And that's great, but you want to also love the university, you want to love the city. It's kind of about the whole package rather than just the project itself, because the PhD is kind of multifaceted with what is involved. It's about the social life, it's about what you do outside the PhD, it's about obviously the PhD itself and kind of the work you do. So you kind of want to know, I don't want to say everything, but as much as you can about the place you're actually going to do the work.
Know what it's actually offering.
Yes, okay. So is a PhD really as bad as it seems? Feeling conflicted? I'd say no. I think as the optimistic one of the 2, I've really loved my PhD. I've loved doing it. Is it difficult? Yes. Yeah. I would say hands down it's difficult, but is it bad? Definitely not.
I think for me, it's going to go up and down.
Roller coaster.
I remember being at the start of PhD and having faculty sessions on well-being, and they do say it is going to be a roller coaster and you're going to have to cope with the low bits, but there will be high bits as well. Yeah. And you kind of sit there thinking like,
it's fine.
It'll be fine. That they've got to say this, but listen, because it genuinely it's true. Like, there are times when you've been doing like a 60-hour week, and then the thing you've been working for doesn't work, and it's like either do it again or just drop it, and you think like, oh, this is really, really rough, and you wonder, could I be doing something else with my time? But then when stuff is working and you are achieving what you want, which if you put the work in, it hopefully will, then it's really, really rewarding.
It's just like the best feeling in the world when it works.
Yeah, 100%.
You'll always have those moments, you'll have those lows, and you'll feel conflicted with yourself, like, why am I putting myself through this?
100%. It is conflicting.
And then you'll get to the end of it and be like, this was worth it. Yes, I struggled. Yes, it was difficult, but I'm getting this really incredible research, which hopefully could change like the outlook of the world, different fields. I know it's quite big picture there, but
no, it is. And even like 6 years after kind of having this feeling for the first time of if you're doing something novel and you do all the work, you do the data analysis and you get your result, and for a little while you're the only person in the world to know that.
That's so good.
And that is something new. That is new knowledge. That feeling is still exciting. And when you get to the end of the PhD and you write it all up and put it together, you start to see that bigger picture again, kind of out of the quagmire of like 60-hour weeks and failed experiments. When you're just looking at the ones that are working and tell the story, it's totally worth it.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm getting to the end where you write like different reports at each end year, and obviously you're writing thesis, and I'm like, wow, I've actually done loads of work. I've actually done loads of really good work. And at the time I was thinking to myself like, oh, maybe I haven't been doing enough, or I've done stuff but it's all going wrong. Then you look at it as a whole and you're like, you know what, I wasn't too shabby actually. That was actually pretty good.
Because I'm actually the opposite.
Oh, really?
At the end of your thesis, you look back at all the stuff that didn't work and you go, wow, why did I waste my time on that?
Why did I do that?
You go, that was a total waste of my time.
At least you can laugh on it though. You can look back and you can laugh.
So yeah, there will 100% be stuff that you look back and go, that was a terrible idea and did not go well. And I put a lot of work into it. But
overall, I would say.
Overall, the stuff that works makes it worth it.
Yeah.
How can I make the most of my PhD? Say yes to opportunities.
Yeah.
You're going to be asked to do things like public engagement, go on, like help out at like science fairs.
Yeah. even conferences you might be scared of presenting
that
at.
you maybe don't want to present, just say yes, just take opportunities that you're given, because what you don't want is to get to the end of your PhD and you've done really well in your project and you've got a good thesis, maybe you've got a publication, maybe 2, but then you don't have the kind of record of transferable skills that maybe give other people a leg up. So just say yes to opportunities, because you may not get those opportunities again.
Yeah, and just chat to people, like talk to everyone you can, because often you're stuck and you're confused about certain aspects of your project.
Yes.
And then you chat to someone and they're like, oh, well, I do this every day. I can help you.
Yeah,
or,
100%.
oh, have you thought about this? And it would just make your project so much easier. But if you had never spoken to that person in the first place, you'd be stuck in this well of like, how am I going to get out of this?
100%. Yeah,
So,
that was one of my biggest takeaways of kind of collaboration. And when you're having a problem, you need to go out and talk to people. And that's actually what I'm really thankful I was at Manchester for that, actually, because I switched to doing blood-brain barrier research and I was having a few issues with it, but actually Manchester's really, really strong on, like, we've got a massive brain inflammation group, we've got a massive strength in vascular research and neurovascular research. And I reached out to a couple of people and those problems were solved immediately. Yeah. And it was kind of a tit for tat thing of like, I can help you out with this if you help me out with this. Yeah. And completely broke through the barriers that I was facing. So yeah, you've got to go out and talk to people and make connections that can help you with your research. And then, say yes to opportunities as well. Say yes. Advice for starting a PhD. Okay, how to prepare yourself for a PhD. Do a little bit of reading.
Yeah, helps.
That really helps to know your subject area before you start, because you don't want to be way behind when you are starting to do experiment and not really understand the point of what you're doing. Don't start writing your literature review if you have to do a literature review. Yeah. Don't start writing a literature review before you've actually started your project, because chances are you're going to start writing and then you start your project and you realize, oh, I've gone at the completely wrong angle because I didn't really understand what my project was yet. And that's fine. It took me like 3 months to understand what my actual project was on starting. Yeah.
I think
that's totally normal.
I don't think it's until like the end of your first year where you're like, this is what my project is.
Oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, exactly. Makes a little more sense now.
Yeah. The first year is just figuring out what you're actually doing. Yeah. But yeah, in terms of subject matter and knowing about if you're studying a particular gene, read about the gene, know about it. So you come in with that knowledge already. But otherwise, just
maybe soft skills like preparing yourself for failure. I know that sounds quite dramatic.
No, you're probably right. Actually,
if you're like before you even get to the PhD, you're putting yourself in maybe positions where you're a bit like uncomfortable. So like you've never done many like social speaking events. Yeah. So you decide, oh, you know what? I'm gonna do this like small project, maybe in a lab or maybe with like a social group. You put yourself forward. Let's say it doesn't go well, but you still did it. That itself is like a skill learned, 100%. Because you can deal with maybe events that haven't gone the way you wanted them, which is pretty much the entire course of a PhD is events that are happening and they're not going exactly how you want them to go. Yeah. And so kind of maybe preparing that mental like aptitude.
Yeah. Other than that, I'd honestly just say relax and try and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like don't be too nervous. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. I think the things you do in the first couple of months of your PhD, they really don't matter in the long run. Yeah. If you come in and you nothing works and you feel like you're struggling in the lab, you will learn, you will get better at it, you will not make those mistakes in the future. It really doesn't matter. Like I think in the first 3 months of my PhD, none of what I did there is ending up in my thesis. So it doesn't matter. Just try and relax and try and enjoy it. Focus on learning. Yeah, bro. How to deal with loss in motivation. Yep, that's pretty common.
It happens to, I think, everyone.
Yeah, there are definitely points in your PhD and you just think, I'm not sure I want to be doing this anymore. And you just feel like, I cannot wait for that PhD thesis to be submitted. But like I was saying, it's a roller coaster, right? You've just got to focus on the fact that this is a low point, which means there are going to be high points again. Like it will come back. So I would say, take a step back from it. Yeah. Keep it 9 to 5. If you're doing, over 40 hours a week, 50, 60 hour weeks, sometimes you just need to do that. If you've got a big workload and you're trying to hit a conference deadline or something, sometimes it's got to be done. Don't do that. If you're struggling to motivate yourself to do it, take a step back, do things you enjoy outside of it. Take leave.
Yeah.
I've been terrible for that. I think throughout my entire PhD, I think I wouldn't be surprised if I've taken more than 4 weeks of leave over the entire PhD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's really bad. Don't do that.
Enjoy your holidays. I've been too liberally enjoying holidays.
Take time off because you need to come back refreshed and wanting to do it. So yeah, take time away, take a step back.
And I think maybe just talk to family and friends, because often in your mind it's all going horribly, but they're like, you're doing a PhD, like that itself is so incredible.
Yeah, it's really easy to lose sight of the forest through the trees because you're just surrounded by really successful academics and then other PhD students, and when you sit in internal presentations, you're only seeing the good stuff. You're not seeing everyone's failure. And I actually sat in a lab meeting recently where the person presenting, after they've presented their work, they were going to present, they go, and this is what didn't work, because I think it's really important to talk about our failures. And I just thought, man, this is so refreshing, because now I feel like it's not just me. And you look at your failures and go, you know, that doesn't matter, everyone's doing it. So yeah, you need to talk to people and share experiences of failure and why you're losing motivation. You'll see it's pretty common, and take a step back.
Yeah, you'll have moments where everything just eventually makes sense, I think.
Yeah. It will come together.
Yeah. What do you wear to conferences?
What do you wear to conferences? I'm
Are you a suit and tie?
How did you know? No, I don't wear a tie. I don't wear a tie. I don't think anyone wears a tie to the scientific conferences I've been to. But I do wear a blazer. And a shirt. I do go jeans though.
I would say at least immunology and science conferences I've been to, very informal. I would say it's very casual.
Yeah.
Jeans, t-shirt, whatever you feel like
100% you can get away with that, especially if you're an accomplished researcher.
Yeah.
You know, there are definitely accomplished researchers who come in, professors, made major breakthroughs in the field, wear what they want. Absolutely. You know, it doesn't matter. And, you know, people whose work, you know, it speaks for themselves. I think it does help to make a good impression if you do dress smartly. It depends what you go into that conference for. I went to a conference recently where I knew people were there that I was potentially looking for work with. So I was like, I'm going to be smart. I'm going to come very presentable, make a good impression. But otherwise, it can be pretty casual. It depends what you want to take out of it.
I think it's kind of whatever you feel confident in, because that's the most important thing at the end of the day, is that you're projecting confidence. I think if you go and let's say you normally don't wear a suit and tie, but that's what you want to do, then that's brilliant. You dress up, you feel great. But if you're like, oh, this is actually going to make me feel more uncomfortable, then it's going to actually show more that you're feeling quite uncomfortable there.
I wouldn't go suit and tie. I wouldn't go full tie. But yeah, I think it's smart. Yeah, full black tie. It feels like a prank someone would pull on a first timer.
Yeah, I feel like I see sometimes the business school coming out of their performance, and they're like
business and economics, full suit, biological sciences.
A nice sweatshirt.
Your nice jumper is absolutely fine. Does anyone else think it's weird when someone thinks you're a high achiever just because you're a PhD student? I find it really uncomfortable.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I find it really uncomfortable if I, you know, to tell people, you know, outside of the PhD, just in, you know, non-academic social life, and I mention, I'm doing a PhD, and a lot of reaction you get is, oh wow, and it's like, and I find I just want to be like, I just want to crawl up in a shell. Maybe that's like, I just don't like having a load of attention. But is it weird? But I think you've got to recognise that you're doing well. I think that's really, really important.
I think you're allowed to enjoy your success, but obviously I wouldn't be gloating about it.
No, you can't gloat, but if you're doing a PhD, you're doing well. You need to recognise that, because otherwise it can be really easy to lose sight of it. You're surrounded by really successful academics and other PhD students. It just kind of becomes the norm. You're doing well.
And realistically, anyone can do a PhD. Anyone can get to your kind of level. It's just the hard work you have to put in beforehand. So you've got to really kind of reward yourself for all that hard work you have put in. I think it's quite nice though, because I'm like the first person in my family to do a PhD, so sometimes it's nice for a bit of acknowledgement that I have really tried, because I feel like I have put a lot of hard work in.
And it's nice to see, you know, parents and family have like, you know, proud mum moments and stuff like that. Mom. It's like, that is nice.
I'm like, yes, I am a scientist, finally.
Does anyone else feel like they don't have a clue what they're doing? Yeah.
I think that happens to most of us.
That is pretty common. I think, you know, I'm at the end now, so I'm now, you know, I'm pretty solid. I'm pretty solid with what I was doing in the lab. and why I was doing it. And I've done all the reading around all the methods I was using. So in everything I've done in my PhD, I'm now confident because it's all kind of convalesced into a complete puzzle that all fits together.
Yeah.
But if you're midway through, it can definitely feel like you don't really know what you're doing.
And often I think, at least at my kind of stage of the PhD, is there's so much, like you've got so much data and there's so many possible opportunities of where your research could go. You're actually not sure which one to kind of follow.
Yeah.
And in that way, you're like, well, which one do I choose? Is going to be one better than the other, but I can't decide. So it's not like you've not worked hard. In fact, you've worked really hard, but there's so much option. You now don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. Well,
in kind of like an ironic way.
Yeah, the question is actually that this person says, I'm currently getting started on my PhD. So they're right at the beginning and they talk about they don't really know what their research objectives
I think that's
fully are.
quite normal.
Totally fine. My
Completely
research,
normal.
the exact aims of my project have changed like every 6 months because you just have to follow the data. If you go in with a plan and objectives, it's good to have a plan and try and follow it, but it's going to change. It's going to change like 4 times minimum. My objectives.
I think objectives are very flexible.
They're super flexible. You have to follow the data. You can't just stick to an objective just for the sake of sticking to an objective. You have to follow your data, and wherever that leads you, you need to switch your objectives accordingly.
And I think the objectives, you can choose which one you like. You can kind of choose which one you want to pick.
I sat down, like beginning of my third year, I sat down with a supervisor and said, I want to do this. And he was like, I'm not sure. I was like,
no,
I am.
Yeah, I'm going to do this.
And I was like, this is what I want to do. And it ended up being something that actually really led to the breakthroughs that I needed. So, do what you want. If you're not sure what you're doing, then...
What makes you like impassioned about it? What do you really enjoy about the project to do that? Did anyone ever open that bakery?
I know someone. I know someone.
Really?
Yeah, no, genuinely. I don't know them personally, but I know of them. They genuinely opened a bakery after doing their PhD. Because I know it's a bit of a cliche when you're doing a PhD. I just want to make bread and
live a happy life.
Exactly. It's such a cliche, but this person actually did it. So
I mean, also if you do yeast research, that could be very relevant to opening a bakery.
My housemaid got really into sourdough.
Oh wow!
And the sourdough starter. And at the same time, after they'd started doing that, and I'd fed it a couple of times, I got a couple of yeast infections in my cell cultures.
Oh no! Really?
Yeah. In my cell cultures, and I couldn't help but wondering that I was bringing it in from home from the sourdough starter. So
cross contamination.
Yeah, so I did have to say, sorry, I can't feed your sourdough starter when you're away because it's contaminating my cell culture. I'm pretty sure.
And I think, in all honesty, science has such overlap with everything. Because it's so methodical. You can open that bakery. I feel like you'd have so many transferable skills, genuinely. Hard-working ethic.
I always say, because I really love cooking. And I always say, cooking is exactly the same as lab work, except you can just eat the result. So it's totally the same. And I write up all my recipes and store all my freezer stuff.
Like a protocol.
Like a protocol.
Oh, wow.
My girlfriend's noted on this. Yeah, I write them like a protocol. And on all my, if I freeze something, it's like 2 times chicken breast to dates and it's all like I do in the lab. And I didn't even notice I was doing it until she pulled me up on it. So yeah, it's going and opening a bakery, totally transferable skills from science. Just if you're getting practice while you're doing science, be careful about those sourdough starters and the contamination. Don't bring it into the lab. Wash everything.
Is there anything you two find yourself thinking about while you're doing a PhD, thinking how could be able to do this?
Mainly just the sunshine. I think at least my lab doesn't have any windows, so when it's a lovely summer day, and you can definitely hear the undergrads being like, "Oh, let's have a barbecue." And I'm just stuck in the lab being like, I wish I could just be enjoying the sun. Luckily, there's a bit of flexibility with PhD, so you can pop out every now and again.
Yeah, I really like my rugby, and I don't play anymore because I got sick of injuries and having to eat tons and stuff. But I coach and I referee, and I'm really enjoying the coaching. So I always think about, could I actually completely change careers and become a rugby coach instead? But so I think we've all got those little dreams of what could you be doing other than doing a PhD. And I think it's good to have those. You need other interests and stuff like that.
No, definitely. Okay, how many PhD students are gamers?
I'd say pretty reflective of the population, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what counts as a gamer. I think quite a lot of us are nerds at heart. I think you all kind of play games or you have different outlets. I think a lot of people do exercise. What I've noticed with PhD students, kind of getting outdoors is people's kind of
Yeah.
escapism.
Yeah, I mean, I did, like, when I was, before the PhD, I was very into, like, Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons, like,
Yeah.
full on into it, but I wouldn't really say I'm a gamer.
Exactly,
no.
yeah, I don't want to...
No, like, I picked up my Nintendo DS and played a retro Pokemon game the other day because I found it, like, the kind of classic cleaning out your room, and you find something that you used to play with when you were a kid. And I got addicted to Pokemon on my Nintendo DS for a little bit, but I wouldn't say I was a gamer, but I think people in doing PhDs are pretty normal on the whole, so it's pretty
everyone's got
representative
their
of the
own kind
population.
of their own
everyone's got
outlets.
hobbies, so.
What apps help you stay motivated and task orientated?
I don't know what apps help me. I know what apps don't help me. And they were social media apps. I've deleted, I still have social media, but I've deleted social media apps off my phone because I was spending way too much time on them and procrastinating. That's been a massive help. But otherwise,
I don't use many apps.
No,
I'm
not very good at, like, I appreciate loads of people find them really helpful, but for me it's like when you have the apps with the checklist of, like, what to do to organise your day and be productive and not procrastinate and stay motivated. I could pick it up and telling me, you know, you need to do this now as part of your routine, and I say, but I don't want to, and close the phone. Just like,
quite easy.
you're not going to tell me what to do. I'm not disciplined enough.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of music in the lab. That normally keeps me. Podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts.
100% on podcasts.
Just because sometimes you just want something in your ear while you're doing quite a. I wouldn't say boring, but you've done it so many times before that you know
routine.
what you're doing. Routine.
Yeah, exactly.
Experiments.
Big on the podcasts. I like political podcasts. And World War II history podcasts.
Oh wow!
I'm very exciting.
No, I think history podcasts.
And then a couple of comedy ones as well.
Maybe depends on the experiment. If you need a bit more light-hearted.
Yeah, exactly. I was
listening
listening to a comedy podcast while doing an assay to measure protein concentrations in my samples, and it made me laugh and I spat all over my plate.
Oh no!
And I had to start again. So yeah, just
maybe not.
Yeah, the
really
comedy podcast,
serious,
you've got to be careful.
Very serious.
Keep it serious for the important ones.
For the important
or just a tip, turn the podcast off and just have your headphones in with nothing in them, and then people will leave you alone. If you just need to focus on something and concentrate.
The problem is when I have my AirPods in, you actually can't see it because of my hair. So people talk to me and they're like, Holly's really rude, she's ignoring me. And I'm like, no, my music's normally quite loud, so I can't actually hear
Yeah,
you.
same, yeah.
I just want to be because I want to be in the zone.
Exactly.
And a lot of it's quite intense, like when they're pipetting, you've got to be quite accurate and you don't want to mess up, so.
Yeah, you do just need to be focused.
No one could speak to me at that moment.
Should I write at the weekend and take today off? Yeah, totally.
Sure.
I'm writing up my thesis. I fully intend on, if the weather's good, taking a day off, going up to the Peak District, Lake District, Snowdonia, or whatever. They're all day trippable from Manchester. Take the day there and then write on a day on the weekend because it's going to be less busy. Make the most of the weather. Yeah, I think one of the good things about doing PhD is you're totally flexible.
100%.
You can work when you want.
In fact, even lab work, you can decide to do that on the weekend instead of...
You totally can, yeah. I'd recommend keeping it Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 when you can. But yeah, fit it around your schedule. That's the benefit of it. Yeah. You're not really going to have that
ever again.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, make the most of it.
Ooh, final cue.
Final questions. Are they going to be big ones? Yes. What makes the struggle and hours of frustration in research worthwhile?
I think we mentioned it earlier about when you find a novel finding and for those where it's minutes, months, years, that is your finding that you found. No one else, hopefully in the world, unless they're going to steal that publication from you, has ever found it before. And you did it. You know what I mean? No one else has done it, and that's the most worthwhile thing, I think.
You've done it. For me, that's massive. It's also going back and looking at what you were doing in your first year, or even go back and look at some of your undergraduate work and seeing how far you've progressed. Your PhD, in making breakthroughs and making novel contributions is part of it, but primarily it's a learning experience. You're learning how to do science and how to become a researcher. So actually look at what you've learned and how you've developed over the 3 or 4 years, and you'll see how far you've gone, and that is really, really rewarding. I've just got a totally different set of skills and mindset and I wouldn't go so far as to say a different person,
Yeah.
but like you develop so much throughout a PhD, and just reflecting on that, I think, is really, really important.
Yeah, I feel like I've had a real moment recently where I've realised that I'm thinking of what I want to do in my project now. It's kind of switched from the supervisor always recommending me things to do, and now I've got to the stage where I'm like, I go to the supervisor being like,
Yes.
I want to do this, this, this and this because I've read it, or I've seen it at a conference, or I think this is like where the future of my project could go. And they're like, yeah, sure, if you want to do that. And I'm like, wow, how weird. I wouldn't have been able to come up with that idea at undergrad. Masters, I wouldn't have thought that way. And now somewhere during this PhD journey, I've taken kind of ownership of the project itself. And that I'm like, wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's really nice to hear someone like going through that right now, because actually it brings it home. Now I'm at the end, like, I wasn't always doing that. So
exactly.
You have developed. Yeah, no, that's really nice to hear.
If you could start over your PhD, what would you do differently?
There's a lot of hindsight. It's 2020 in PhDs. Like you will look at some work that you've done and gone, that was a complete waste of time. But you weren't to know that. You started the work for a reason. You had those hypotheses for a reason. If they didn't work, being wrong is a massive part of science. So if I could start with my PhD, I'd do all the experiments that worked and none of the ones that
skip
didn't.
all the wrong ones.
But it's not that easy. I think because of that, I wouldn't do anything differently.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd say yes to a couple more opportunities, like doing public engagement stuff in kind of the first couple of years, bits and pieces like that. But you are where you are with your research at the end, which is hopefully in a positive place because of all the decisions that you've made throughout. I know key decisions that I made led me to the findings that I have now. So
I feel like
you can't really mess about with that. It's like the thing of going back in time and you change one thing and then the future's completely different.
Yeah, it lets you grow naturally. I think that's the thing with a PhD is you can explore different things at different points of your journey and not feel pressured to do anything in particular. And I think that's really quite beautiful. And then obviously when you look back at it, you're like, oh, if I only did this thing in first year, it would all be different. But you would never have thought that in first year. There's no way on earth that would have happened. So everything kind of happens.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020. You just got to accept it and move on.
Maybe saved a few of my folders a bit better named.
Yes.
My naming organisation for my folders are awful, so maybe organisational.
Yeah, okay, that's probably a good one. Stay organised from the start. So that was us answering some of the PhD subreddit's hottest questions. That's a thank you from all of us for joining.
Thank you.